Hello all and welcome. I'm Colette and I'm here today from Witchways, and I want to share with you a prosperity spell that you can use for financial prosperity, food abundance, or any other resource that you need. I hope you enjoy this, and let me know in the comments if you have any particular herbs or colors or objects or gems that you associate with abundance. This is a spell that can be done anytime you choose or anytime you need it, but there are a few times they're just a little bit better to do this particular working. For example, doing it during a waxing moon or on a full moon is really good. Also, doing it during the upper half of the year during summertime is also really helpful. But really, you can do this anytime you want. Just start your magic however you usually do that. For me personally, I like to cast a circle and pull up a little energy into my body from earth and sky. And particularly with prosperity spells, I'm likely to call in ancestors who are whole, healthy, and have my best interest at heart, or perhaps a deity that is associated with abundance, the land, or harvest. I'm going to use an enchanted herbal water as a base for this spell, and you can make up just enough to use in the moment for one working, or you can make a larger quantity and preserve it with alcohol to use multiple times. I'm going to use this to anoint my candles that I burn in the spell, but you could also use it as a spray or anointing liquid on yourself, your jewelry, your checkbook, your wallet, or the spell plate that you're doing any abundance working on. You can also dab it or paint it on some paper and let it dry to have some pre-charged abundance spell paper to use whenever you need it, just ready to go. And it's also great for painting sigils or symbols on things related to abundance or prosperity. And if you want, you can use it as the water base in watercolors if you're doing any magical art crafting with it. If you don't want to add alcohol to it, it'll keep for several days in the refrigerator. Or you can dilute this base with a bit more water and pour it in a bath or pour it over yourself in the shower as a rinse, and kind of use it as a glamour of prosperity or abundance to draw abundance to you. This base is going to contain 5 herbs. Feel free to change out the herbs that I'm suggesting for herbs that you have available or you have a special affinity with. And I like to use uneven numbers of herbs or objects when I'm trying to create change in my life rather than even numbers. And for prosperity and abundance, I like to use 3 or 5, which is a pretty common number for me to use in spells. These herbs can be used fresh or dry. You're going to need bay leaves, which call in prosperity, success, and victory. Organic rose petals to help it flow in easily and in a way that is lovely for you and others. Basil for protection of your resources, and again, it's an herb that calls in prosperity. Cinnamon to help get the attention of the spirit folk, and also it's one that draws in prosperity. And some cloves to spice things up and make sure that the prosperity comes in quickly. Cloves and cinnamon are also slightly protective, and if any of the herbs are fresh, I would chop them up with a knife or grind them in a mortar and pestle. And for the dry herbs, I would just rub them between my hands using my breath to help wake them up a little bit. Place all the herbs in a jar that has a tightly fitting lid, and the proportions are not super important. Use what you have on hand. I usually use equal portions, maybe a little bit less of the cloves or the cinnamon, but it doesn't matter that much. And the important thing though is to, as you place each herb in the jar, let each herb know what you are hoping that they will do for you in this particular spell. Then once they're all in the jar, pour some boiling water over them and make sure you've covered the top with just like a little bit of water over the top, like maybe ½ an inch or an inch. And if you're using predominantly dried herbs, you're going to have to check back and make sure those dried herbs don't soak up all of the liquid, and if that is the case, just boil a little bit more water and pour it over the herbs until there's water standing on the top. Make sure you put the lid on and let it sit for 1 to 2 hours until the liquid cools completely. Once it's cooled, just strain it out, squeeze it really well, and if you want to preserve it, you're going to need to add some brandy or vodka. And since this is for personal use, again, my proportions are not really very exact, but in general, for every cup of tea that I have, I usually add about 1/3 of a cup of brandy or vodka. You can use more of the alcohol if you want, and the more alcohol you have in it, the less chance it will go bad. When your enchanted water blend is ready, just anoint 3 candles with this blend of herbal water. And if you're putting them in candle holders, you can anoint the candle holders too. I like using gold candles because they call in the power of the sun, and also because gold is associated with wealth in some people's minds. You can get gold colored candles online pretty easily in birthday candle size or in chime size, which is just a little bit bigger, so they're not as expensive. I've also sometimes found them at the dollar store. Green candles are also good. They're a reminder to me that our true wealth, our true abundance, and our true support comes from the earth itself and from the land. You could also just use green or gold candle holders for white candles if that's all you have, or beeswax candles, but you can use any color candle that reminds you of abundance and prosperity. Then just take a breath and center yourself, or do whatever you do before you launch into magic, and light your candles. And at this point, I usually offer some kind of offering to the ancestors if I call them in. It's often my cordial blend or whiskey if I'm calling in my Scottish ancestors. And I will also burn a devotional incense blend if I called in any other spirit beings or deity. You can use any incense that feels right to you. My devotional blend is equal parts of ginger powder dried, turmeric powder dried, and cinnamon powder dried. And I like them because the colors are warm and fiery. It smells really good, both when I'm making it and when I'm burning it, and it's also easily available at the store, and I almost always have those 3 things in my cupboard. And then I just burn that incense on some charcoal in a heat-proof container, and I speak my intention. You can either pre-write your intention out if that's easier for you, or speak spontaneously in the moment. I like to have a couple caveats in there, something like abundance above and beyond expenses, or this or better. And I usually like to repeat my intention a few times, and I either keep the incense lit or keep offering devotional incense blend as I am chanting my intention. And then once I've done that, I let the candles burn all the way out. To get things flowing and pay it forward, I like to follow up by placing some money magically somewhere where someone who needs it is likely to find it. The other day, I heard about this great thing where someone came home from the grocery store and they found $5 in their egg carton. And I really love that. Not only because we almost always need money when we go to the grocery store because prices have risen so much, but I also liked it being in with eggs because eggs are something that are associated with new beginnings and new life. If you feel stuck or blocked, you can also follow up with a removal spell. And for me, what that looks like is taking 3 black candles and lighting them during a waning moon, and asking that any blocks or obstacles that stand in the way of me having the abundance and what I need, please be removed. Let me know in the comments what your favorite prosperity herb, color, gemstone is and what works for you. And you do still have a few more weeks to jump in on my Patreon benefit promo, which is where new members get extra benefits for signing up that they normally wouldn't get. And I also would appreciate it if you would help my channel grow abundantly by liking, subscribing, and sharing my video if you choose. And so until next time, stay safe and be well.